All right, let's get right into it. We are going to do a full forensic teardown of what some claim is a first-generation heavy metal flying saucer. We're talking something built by the U.S. military-industrial complex way back in the 1980s. Now, its official name was the Alien Reproduction Vehicle, but you know how it is. The crews, they give it a much cooler nickname, the Fluxliner. So, our story kicks off on November 12th, 1988. Picture this. A locked-down hangar at Norton Air Force Base in California. There's a defense contractor there, a guy named Brad Sorensen, and he's at this classified aerospace exhibit. Well, he kind of wanders away from the main displays, slips behind this heavy black curtain, and lays eyes on something he was absolutely never meant to see. So, you have to ask, right? What in the world was being shown to just a handful of VIPs in this super-secret briefing? What could possibly warrant that level of secrecy? And that event, that's what's become known as the Norton Leak. The witness, Brad Sorensen, he later described everything he saw in incredible detail to an aerospace illustrator named Mark McCandlish, who then went on to create these really detailed schematics of the craft. So what was back there? 3 vehicles. All different sizes, all shaped like these flat-bottomed bells. And they weren't on stands, they weren't being held up by cranes or anything like that. No, they were hovering, just floating there, completely untethered and dead silent, a few feet off the hangar floor. And get this, a 3-star general was presenting them as fully operational hardware. Okay, so how did they work? This is where the engineering just gets wild. The ARV doesn't have an engine in the way we think of one. The engine is the floor. The entire flat bottom of this vehicle is one single, massive, high-voltage machine. The design is actually pretty ingenious when you break it down. The floor is built to be a massive capacitor, but it's not just one solid piece. It's actually segmented into 48 separate wedge-shaped sections. You can think of it exactly like slices of a pizza, where each and every slice can be charged up all on its own. And each one of those pizza slices is basically a classic capacitor sandwich. You've got a heavy copper plate on the bottom, another one on top, and then squeezed right between them is this incredibly heavy, glass-like insulator. And that insulator, that magic rock, that is the absolute key to making this entire machine work. So for this kind of tech to even be possible, you need an insulator that can hold back millions, literally millions of volts of electricity without just shattering into a million pieces. You know, normal stuff like glass or rubber, it would instantly vaporize. The secret ingredient, the special sauce used in the ARV's floor, was a very specific ceramic called barium titanate. So the first really critical property of barium titanate is something called its dielectric constant, which is represented by the letter K. The easiest way to think about this is its ability to act like an electrical sponge. The higher the K value, the more electrical pressure a material can just soak up before it fails. And trust me, to warp gravity, you need to store a terrifying amount of energy. And the difference here is, it's just staggering. I mean, for comparison, air has a K value of 1. Really good quality glass might get you to about 10. But lab-grown barium titanate, depending on the exact recipe, can get a K value of over 10,000. It's not just better, it's an electrical super sponge. It's capable of containing the insane voltage you need for what they call electrogravitative flight. And look, this isn't science fiction. This is straight from the U.S. Patent Office. Patent number 2420864, granted in May of 1947, it lays out the basic recipe for creating these high-K barium titanate ceramics. And it's probably worth noting this was filed just 2 months before the infamous Roswell incident. But the development didn't just stop there. Oh no. By 1962, General Electric had patented a way to dope the ceramic with other elements. And what this did was make it tough enough to survive the relentless, pulsing, high-voltage abuse that it would have to take inside an aerospace vehicle. They were literally turning a laboratory curiosity into a rugged, hardcore engine component. But just holding electricity is only half the story. See, barium titanate has a second property that's almost magical. It's highly piezoelectric. All that means is when you hit it with a big spark of electricity, the crystal itself physically changes shape. It actually expands and contracts. So this is the crucial point, that deep, resonant hum that witnesses always report hearing from these craft. It's not a turbine. It's not a generator. It's the sound of thousands of pounds of barium titanate in the floor physically expanding and contracting, thousands of times a second, as millions of volts are pulsed straight through it. And again, this property was weaponized decades ago. This patent from 1951, assigned directly to the Secretary of the Navy, details exactly how to use barium titanate's powerful vibration to create the acoustic ping for submarine sonar. The ARV's engine hum is a direct application of 1950s Navy sonar technology. Wild, right? Okay, so the floor is made of this magic rock that holds a ton of electricity and vibrates like crazy. But how does a pilot actually fly the thing? How do you steer when you don't have wings or rudders? Well, inside the central column of the ARV is a system that works almost exactly like the distributor cap in an old V8 engine, just on a massive scale. You have a central rotor that spins, and it fires these sequenced pulses of millions of volts into each of the 48 pizza slices in a super-fast merry-go-round pattern. Steering is brutally elegant. The pilot doesn't push the craft forward. Instead, they just tell the distributor to send more voltage to the front plates and less to the back. This creates an imbalance, a gravity low point right in front of the craft, and the 30-ton vehicle then just falls into the hole it just created. It's literally surfing on a self-generated gravity wave. Now let's get to the final piece of this teardown. Because the ultimate proof, according to the source material, that the ARV was a human-built machine, well, you find that by looking inside the crew cabin. It's a lot less alien mothership and a lot more like a Frankenstein's monster of off-the-shelf parts.
The cockpit was apparently filled with familiar 1980s military hardware. The pilot sat in standard Martin Baker ACS second ejection seats, the exact same ones used in the F-16 fighter jet. And there were no windows. Why? Because a window is a structural weakness. Instead, they had fiber optic cameras on the hull that projected a seamless 360-degree view onto screens inside, basically making the walls look transparent.
So, the ARV, the Fluxliner, you can think of it as the Model T of the secret space program. It was incredibly heavy, it was dangerously loud because of that piezoelectric hum, but it worked. It was the brute force proof of concept that gravity could be engineered, could be hacked using terrestrial technology that was available back during the Cold War. And that leaves us with one final pretty heavy thought. If you take this body of evidence, the eyewitness testimony, the engineering schematics, this clear trail of public patents, if this technology was really operational in 1988, it raises a really powerful question. What could our world look like today, and why doesn't it?